Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of TaughtToProfit.com. Today I want to talk to you about why you must be a giver and a receiver. In Acts 20:35, Jesus says, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." He didn't say don't receive. Many people misinterpret that and say, well, see, it's more blessed to give than receive. And they take that and pervert it into meaning you're not supposed to receive. Jesus taught over and over again that when you give, you will receive. And that's why it's more blessed to give than to receive, because when you give, you constantly receive. There's no end to your receiving as you keep on giving. It's not a dead end. It's not a swamp where you give and then it's over and there's nothing coming back to you. Now, that's not your reasoning for doing it, but that is a known, tangible benefit of giving. And so I want to stress to you that you understand true blessing is when other people can be blessed by your blessing, or other people are incorporated in a blessing that you're also receiving. That's a great thing. To get this mentality that, well, it's only really a blessing for me if it only affects me or my family. This is what's going on all over the world. This is why so many people are poor today, because they only care about themselves and their family, which is just an extension of them. That's all it is. If their family was living in somebody else's house and wasn't their family, they wouldn't care about them either. That's not the way to go through life. That's not being blessed. That's not the kind of person whose mentality is going to give and be more blessed by it. That's a person that will hoard things into themselves. And I see this time and time again where people get any kind of success and their mentality is to go spend money, waste money, buy a bunch of things, buy a new house, and then they can't afford it, and they get foreclosed on. Buy a nice car, and then they can't afford the upkeep. I can't tell you how many people I know who have bought Lamborghinis and Ferraris and things like that, and they can't afford to keep them maintained. Well, you don't understand. It costs $20,000 a year to maintain this thing. So? You should have known that going in. Or you shouldn't even buy it in the first place. You're only driving it 1,000 miles a year. Just rent one. You get the same pleasure of driving the vehicle without all that $20,000 a year in upkeep, if that's a concern for you. But that's because they're only taking in. And for them, they only see blessing as something that can benefit them. Where you know otherwise that as you get more blessed, you can bless others more. And in turn, while not the reason for why you're doing that, you'll be blessed even more. There's an old saying, you can't outgive God. Now, oftentimes that is perverted and used in churches to get people to give more money to the church, because that's all they really want. They teach people to tithe money and do all this stuff so they can get more money. But there is some truth to that, though. Ecclesiastes chapter 11 verse 1 says, "Cast thy bread upon the waters, for thou shalt find it after many days." Think about that. When you're out there giving, as Jesus said, "Give, and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down and shaken together, and running over shall men give into your bosom. For the same measure that ye mete withal, it shall be measured to you again." This is one of the things I lacked as a younger person. I would give, but then when people try to give me stuff, I say, "Oh no, I'm blessed. I don't need any more." Oh, I have a lot of... I couldn't get my mind wrapped around the receiving part. That it wasn't wrong. That part of blessing other people and giving was that you receive. Because as you have more, you can give more. And I was stopping up that blessing coming back to me, all in a circle. And I was stopping it. No. Give to someone else. Give to your local charity. I don't need any money. I'm fine. I don't need you to give money. I'm already wealthy. I'm already blessed. And I was stopping up the blessing in my own life. But Jesus said, "Give, and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down and shaken together, and running over shall men give into your bosom. For the same measure that ye mete withal, it shall be measured to you again." You have to be able to receive. You have to be able to receive if you're going to give. The people with nothing aren't giving anything either. They're the ones with the handout, waiting for somebody to give to them. But they haven't started the process by giving themselves, giving what they have, and then they're able to receive. So if you stop either point of that process, which is a cyclical process, you give and it's given to you. And then you give more and it's given more to you. The measure that you measure your giving is going to be measured back to you again. But even more, my friend, I cannot stress this enough. When you can be a blessing and have blessings in your life that also bless other people, that's good. That's not a bad thing. That's not bad news. That is not something lacking in your life. That's a good thing. That's exactly what should happen, what you should want to happen. When you're blessed, other people can be blessed. And I want to ask you today to think about this issue. Is there a way that you can receive more blessing and in turn it bless other people? Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be like something like that where at one point all millions of people receive the same blessing at one time. You do not have the ability to orchestrate that. But what blessings could you receive today that you have been hindering, you've been stopping, as I mentioned that I would do when somebody would try to give me something, but I already had enough, so I didn't need any more. And so I would hinder the blessing. And part of that may have been stubborn pride, where I was just, well, what do I need this? I'm wealthy, I don't need this. I don't need this blessing. And yet, I was doing two things wrong there. One, I was stopping the receiving part of the process so I could give more. And two, I was stopping their giving part. So they were trying to give, which in turn would have caused them to be more blessed. Because as they were giving, it would be given back to them. Good measure, pressed down and shaken together and running over, shall men give into their bosom. But I was hindering the whole entire process. I was hindering my receiving of blessing. I was hindering them being more blessed by giving because I stopped them from giving to me. This is very important. There's nothing wrong with receiving. There has to be somebody receiving in order for somebody to be giving. So if you want to be a giver and you feel that giving is so good, you have to understand that there needs to be somebody to receive. And you have to understand that when somebody's trying to give you something, you are one of those individuals that is receiving. And you need to be open to that, regardless of how much money you have, how much wealth, whatever it may be. You need to be open to that because you need to allow them to be able to give. Now take note of this. Maybe even write this down. If you believe that receiving is wrong for you, then what you're saying is that giving is wrong because your giving would be causing other people to do something wrong in receiving. You're making sinners out of these people by making them into receivers. But we know that's not the case. Get rid of this thinking that receiving is a bad thing. There is nothing wrong with receiving. Receiving is only wrong when you become a vacuum that sucks up all this wealth, all these things, receives, and gives nothing out. But that's not you. You are a giver. You're a giver and a receiver. You don't just receive unto yourself so you can have more and amass and accumulate, but you're a giver. And you may have great things and be very blessed. God has given us richly all things to enjoy. 1 Timothy 6:17. So don't think that you can't have nice things. God's given you those things. These good things come from above. They come from the Father of lights. These good, perfect gifts. But you are a giver. And you're blessed and a receiver. There's nothing wrong with receiving. Because your reception does not end the process. Because you give. You're not just receiving and giving nothing out. Don't mislead yourself. Don't get caught up in these ideologies of wealth being bad. Being rich is wrong. It's evil. Money's the root of all evil. And all this nonsense. When you trust in uncertain riches, when you are loving money, that's where there's a problem. But that's not you. So why would you have a problem with receiving? Don't demean receiving as if it's a bad thing or a negative thing, because then what are you doing every time you give besides making sinners out of the people who are receiving your blessing that you're giving them? And that's not the case. This is a good transaction all around. Your giving is a good thing. Their receiving is a good thing. When you have it come back to you, you cast your bread upon the water and it returns. You'll find it. You're blessed. This is all a good process. It's cyclical. It keeps going around. You receive more, you give more. You receive more, you give more. Other people will receive more. It's all a blessing. It's all good. There's nothing bad here. There's no evil. Stop thinking about it in a selfish way of, well, I don't need anything. I don't need to receive. Think about it in a different way. I need to be open to allow them to give so they can be blessed even more. I don't want to hinder their blessings and their giving ability because I'm saying, well, I don't need any more. And this isn't to say that you just receive everything and you just hoard up a bunch of riches and do nothing. That's not what I'm talking about at all either. But that you take your blessing, you recognize that blessing can apply all over. And how can you in turn use your giving and your receiving to be a blessing to others? My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.